What's good, everybody? It's your favorite YouTuber slash podcaster, Manny. Welcome to the Talking Sports with Manny podcast. Welcome to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Guess what, y'all? Football is back. It's back, baby. I'm going to go ahead and run this intro, and we're going to go ahead and dive into that preview. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions. Let's get it. Look, y'all, before we can even dive into the preview, it was big news coming out today. I would say breaking news, but it's not breaking news because it's now old news. But this news is pretty much Travis Kelce might potentially miss this game. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and give you guys the news just how I saw it. I couldn't believe it. All right. So the news reads, Chiefs star Travis Kelce's status is in doubt for Thursday night's opener versus the Lions because of his knee injury. But sources tell me that, and Tom Pelissero, it's not believed to be a long-term injury. They'll wait for the swelling to go down and go from there. Look, my guess is he's not playing. Today's Tuesday. The game is Thursday. I don't see a miraculous 48 hours for Travis Kelce. The smart thing would be to rest a Travis Kelce. You're playing the Lions. No offense to the Lions. They're a much improved team, but you can beat the Lions even without a Travis Kelce. So this is why I say rest him up. But this is big news because when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, last year when they lost to Tyreek Hill, right, everybody was saying that Mahomes was going to have a down year and Mahomes was not going to be Mahomes. Mahomes played phenomenal. Mahomes might have actually played better last year than he did with the last year that Travis Kelce played. Tyreek Hill played. So with Kelce not being part of the equation, it's going to be a spread offense. You cannot predict who is going to get the ball. I see a lot of guys in fantasy right now. They're going out there and then they're picking up Noah Gray. Congratulations to you. But do not be upset if Noah Gray does not produce because there's a potential that Noah Gray might get you a goose egg. You got Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You have Sky Moore, who's ascending. You have Justin Ross. You have Rashee Rice. There's a lot of these guys. You can call them no-namers or whatever you want to call them. Richie James. Somebody is going to get the ball. Somebody's going to score, but you cannot predict it when there's no Travis Kelce. When it was Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, you knew where the ball was going first, and then the ball went to this other secondary targets, the role players, those kinds of guys, right? So that's why I say, without a Travis Kelce, guess what? You cannot predict. If you're a gambling person, good luck to you. It's going to be tough on your parlays, on your Thursday night parlays or whatever. Just be careful because the ball is going to go everywhere. And then who knows? Maybe they lean towards the run more. Maybe they get a big lead versus the Lions and they just run the ball. We got Uptown Dre in the building. Appreciate you hopping on the stream. It says, yo, my brethren, I have a draft tonight, and Travis Kelce's not on my first round board with that back injury. That's the worst. That's worse than an ACL injury. So it was a back injury. I really didn't even see or notice what the injury was. I just knew that it was an injury. I heard that it was a knee injury. Yeah, I did hear that he hyperextended his knee. So I didn't hear anything about a back. If he has a back injury to go with his knee injury, then that's terrible. You say it's definitely worse than an ACL injury. So yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Even though Travis Kelce's no longer in my first round board, who knows if he's there at 112? I might mess around and draft me a Travis Kelce. Matter of fact, I hope that the Travis Kelce injury lowers him in drafts. I have a draft tonight at 7:00, and I am also hoping that Travis Kelce falls in the draft, so that way he can fall right to me. But yeah, Travis Kelce, he's one of a kind. When he's fully healthy, he's him. Time Out Sports, what's good, brother? It's his knee. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I did see knee hyperextension on the knee. Not a doctor, but that's tough. Any injury is tough, and we know that Travis Kelce's getting up in age. What is he, like 34 years old? And he just continues to, produce. But with football, Father Time is undefeated. Injuries are undefeated, and if it's not Father Time, then it's injuries, right? So let's look at Travis Kelce real quick. Let's look him up. Travis Kelce. What did he do last year? Like, this guy has been magnificent in just talking fantasy alone. This guy has been a top 1 to 2 tight end. He was so since 2016 to 2022, he's been number 1 every year except of 1 year, which was 2021, which is I believe was Mark Andrews had a phenomenal season to be the tight end 1 in fantasy that year. So if he's tight end 1 in fantasy, you know he's tight end 1 in real life as well. This guy just puts up anywhere between 83 receptions to 110 receptions in that span. He's anywhere between 1,038 yards to anywhere to 1,400 plus yards. This guy right here, he's consistently getting touchdowns, anywhere from 4 or 5 touchdowns when he first started, right? Being a starter and being consistent, to 8 to 10 to 11 to 12 touchdowns last year. And that's why Travis Kelce gives you a big time advantage in fantasy and even in real life. He's unguardable. He's not human. Hopefully he uses his superhuman strength to heal. For Thursday, it would have been a much better game with Travis Kelce than without a Travis Kelce. So that is tough. Kansas City, man, they're a special team. They're one of those teams that they're amazing. And what more can you say about the Chiefs? When you have a Patrick Mahomes, who is the best QB in the league, right? He does what he does, right? He produces at a high clip. And that's the advantage to having a Patrick Mahomes. When you have a Patrick Mahomes and you have a Travis Kelce, you literally have the best QB in the NFL. You have the best tight end in the NFL. Now, the whole thing with their defensive tackle, Chris Jones, we don't know what happens there. I believe he plays, but he's disgruntled. Like, you have his teammates tell him, hey, we need you. I don't know. Do you guys think Chris Jones plays? I think he plays. Like, how can you not play? And if Chris Jones does not play, guess what? You're going to have guys like Gibbs, David Montgomery running through that middle. Yes, the Chiefs are experienced. Yes, the Chiefs have, experience. They're Super Bowl champs. They have Super Bowl MVPs and all that. They've had success. But at the end of the day, it's opening week 1. It's on a Thursday night. It's, the jitters, the trying to get your nuances, in, and are the receivers in sync with Patrick Mahomes? Is Patrick Mahomes, does he have to be so special for them to win? You have the Lions, who are very, 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 very talented group, right? You have guys like Jared Goff, who had a great season. Everybody counted Jared Goff out last year. All he did was ball out this year, and now he's playing his way into a nice contract coming up. So you have Jared Goff. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who many feel could lead the NFL in targets. He's a guy that could potentially have 120, 140 receptions if they fed him like that, right? Then you have a Jameson Williams who's had, from the injuries to the suspension, in fantasy, I'm pretty much out on Jameson Williams. I can't trust him anymore. I can't trust him. Between the injuries and the suspension, I just don't know what to make of Jameson Williams. And then he had another injury, right? So forget him, because he's not even going to be a factor, right? You lose a TJ Hockenson in that trade to the Vikings, but you get a Sam Laporta, who I love coming into the draft. He's going to be a factor in this game, right? Of course, you have Gibbs. Of course, you have Montgomery. Gibbs is going to be very, very much involved in that passing game. But my thing is, without Gibbs, and let's just say Amon-Ra St. Brown, who would be that next guy that steps up that could get you 6 to 7 targets, about 4 to 6 catches, and actually put their imprint on this game? Because it's going to be a high-scoring game potentially. The Chiefs will score, and if the Lions' defense has not improved, I can guarantee you that it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I'm looking for a high-scoring game. That's what you want out of the first game of the season. Let me see. Uptown Dre says Kelce on draft boards in light years ahead of him, ahead of Mark Andrews this year. Yeah, most definitely. Like, Mark Andrews, he's great. He had that one really, really amazing season. I'm not saying that he's not great. He's just not on Travis Kelce's level. Let's look at Mark Andrews real quick. Mark Andrews. Let me pull him up. Because although Mark Andrews is a really, really, really good tight end. At the end of the day, he doesn't have a Patrick Mahomes, and that's the difference. So in the last 4 years, he's been a top 4 tight end 3 out of the last 4 years. But that's because there's not a lot of really good tight ends out there, both in real life and fantasy, to be honest. So his second year in the league, he was tight end 4, right? Or tight end 5. Sorry, guys. He's been a top 6 tight end in the last 3 out of the last 4 years. I take that back. I'm sorry, guys. My information is all over the place because we have classifications in PPR and we have classifications in half PPR. So in full PPR, Mark Andrews has been a top 6 tight end in the last 4 years. For his second year, he had 64 receptions for 852 yards, right? He had 10 touchdowns. And I think the touchdowns is what sets him in another tier. So, of course, you have Travis Kelce, right? But then in that next tier, you have Mark Andrews and then maybe TJ Hockenson, those kinds of guys. And in the next tier, you have a guy like a Kyle Pitts, even though he hasn't hit that next level yet. But the potential of what Kyle Pitts could be and this and that. I'm going to ask you guys a question in just a second. So, his third year in the league, 58 receptions, 107 yards. 701 yards, 7 touchdowns. That was a year that he kind of took a step back, right? And that year I'm thinking, well, maybe Mark Andrews isn't as good or as great as we think he could be. Then in his third or fourth year, he stepped it up big time. That's when he went ballistic. He had 154 targets. Lamar was humming that year. Of course, with the other quarterbacks as well, because Lamar did get hurt that year. But Mark Andrews, 107 receptions. He had 1,300 yards plus, and he also had 9 touchdowns. And that is what secured him for tight end 1. And he didn't win tight end 1 by too many points. That year, he had like 301 points in fantasy compared to a Travis Kelce. Let me look at Kelce that year. Kelce ended up with, 263 points. And I don't know what happened to Kelce that year. Kelce just wasn't Kelce. I think, Kelce was Kelce. I mean, he had an amazing season, but Mark Andrews edged him out by close to 40 points. So, I got to give him credit. When you can edge out Kelce by 40 points, you have done something. So, it's really Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. And then with all the weapons in the Ravens this year, do you think that Mark Andrews produces at a higher clip or an average clip? So we don't really know what Mark Andrews can do this year. And then, he's missed 6 practices until yesterday to where he can actually now start practicing again. Uptown Dre says, I like Cole Turner in the 6th and 7th round. That's a bit too high for me. Cole Turner will go undrafted. He will go. If you wait to draft Cole Turner with your very last pick, he will be there available for you, especially if you're drafting, if you're like in a 15-round draft, right? 15-round draft, 12-man. I can almost guarantee you that Cole Turner will be there in the very last round. So those are the rounds where you kind of get your kickers, your DSTs. Yeah, so definitely wait on Cole Turner. Trust me, nobody's looking at Cole Turner but possibly you. So leave Cole Turner alone. You can grab your Cole Turner with the very last pick of the draft, unless you have some Washington Commanders fans in that league and they just kind of tell you that they love Cole Turner. Cole Turner should go undrafted because you're going to see at least 8 tight ends that are better than Cole Turner at that point. In that 6th or 7th round, you're talking about guys like Darren Waller is going to be available in the 6th round potentially. You're going to have all these different tight ends that are going to be available. So yeah, definitely if you want Cole Turner, I'm not saying don't grab him. You can definitely grab him a lot later rather than early. But yeah, use those 6th or 7th round picks on your main hitters, your wide receiver 2s and 3s, your third running back, maybe a quarterback at that point is cool. But yeah, if it's redraft, definitely wait on Cole Turner. But yeah, back to this game, man. I'm excited for this game for many reasons, right? You have the Lions, who are a up-and-coming team. Played well last year, took strides last year. I think this year the Lions have a chance to take this, what they did last year, to a whole nother level. Jared Goff, like I said, he's very underrated. He might not be the best quarterback, but he is a starting level quarterback. And that's the thing with Washington. Had Washington kept a Kirk Cousins, who was a starting level quarterback, they will possibly have more success than they've had the last, 5 years or the last however many years it's been since Kirk Cousins left. Now, you might ask me, what has Kirk Cousins done in Minnesota? He's giving them consistency. I mean, he's giving them good play, good quarterback play. Now, it doesn't mean it's great quarterback play, but you ask yourself, who are the top 15 quarterbacks in the league? Kirk is a top 15 quarterback. Might even be a top 12 quarterback, maybe top 10. I don't know. It just all depends on how you view him. So when you have these startable quarterbacks, not everybody's going to have a elite franchise quarterbacks. Like those guys, it's hard to find those guys. Even when you find those guys, like the Cardinals thought they found a Kyler Murray. It hasn't worked out. Kyler Murray has not really done anything outside the one season when he freshly got him a DeAndre Hopkins. If it's not injury, it's another thing, right? And then you have these other teams like the Jets who thought they drafted their franchise quarterback in Zach Wilson. How about the guys that traded 3 first-round picks to get a Trey Lance, right? It's hard to find these franchise quarterbacks. All I'm saying is that Jared Goff is good enough to win games. I mean, goodness, the guy's been to a Super Bowl. How many quarterbacks can say they've been to a Super Bowl? So when you have a good quarterback, you take care of that quarterback. Like, enjoy having a good quarterback. Everybody's not going to have a great quarterback. Get great players around a good quarterback, and you definitely have something special. That's all I'm saying. Because if you're waiting for the next Aaron Rodgers, the next Patrick Mahomes, even Russell Wilson is taking a step back last season, right? You look at these so-called elite quarterbacks. Josh Allen is coming up, right? Joe Burrow. These are the next guys, right, to take over what Peyton Manning and Breeze and Tom Brady has done for years, right? So you have these newer guys, these newer younger guys, but then you're looking for the next guy. You're looking for the next Caleb. Like the Caleb Williams train is crazy, and I hope he comes into the league and it works, because a lot of times you get these QBs that have a lot of hype. Whether they're coming from a big school, small school, it doesn't matter. They come in with a lot of hype, and sometimes they're not coached up right. Sometimes the situation isn't right. But I think Caleb Williams is going to be a good one. Just like how I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be a good one. He wasn't being coached up right by Urban Meyer, and then boom, he's gone. Look at what they did last year. So, I mean, you get you a good quarterback, your franchise is in a good position. But my problem with getting a good quarterback is once you pay that quarterback, you don't have a lot to then build the rest of your roster. So it's good to get these QBs on rookie deals. Yes, if you can find the perfect one, you rock out. That's why I'm wishing that Sam Howell for my Commanders is great this year, because that will solve multiple issues just having Sam Howell as the franchise quarterback. Says, what about Freiermuth from Pitt? Freiermuth from Pitt is an excellent option. He should be available in the 6th or 7th round if that's who you're looking for. He's a very good tight end. I have him in that middle tier of guys. He's definitely a top 7, top 8 tight end this year. At worst, he's a top 10 tight end, but I think he's going to be a top 7 tight end. Could creep into top 5, especially if Kenny Pickett takes that next step. Uptown Dre says, Crybaby Murray, Lance and Zach, not a bust yet, but the jury is out to hand down the verdict on them cats. Absolutely. And it's sad. It's what happens in the NFL. It's all about what have you done for me lately? I think that Kyler Murray is still a very good QB. I got to find this tweet if I can find it. Somebody said they want to check in on Kyler Murray. They said if Sam Howell does not work out, and Arizona is not going to be good this year, so there's a potential that Arizona ends up being bad, right? Let's say Arizona ends up being bad. That means they're in that Caleb Williams stratosphere, in that Caleb Williams realm, right? Let's say they get the number 1 overall pick. You draft the Caleb Williams because he's supposed to be the next generational QB, whatever you want to call it, right? Even if you don't draft the Caleb Williams and you say, hey, we believe in Kyler Murray, that's also cool. But if Kyler Murray does become available and Sam Howell isn't it, how does that work out? You know, you're bringing in a guy that's smaller than Sam Howell, definitely has an arm, definitely can run, but these running QBs, they don't last long. A guy like Sam Howell, although he doesn't have a big arm, he's really smart, but Kyler Murray came in with more hype. But then Kyler Murray came in the draft in a weaker class. Go look at the other QBs that were drafted along with Kyler Murray. The late Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, Drew Luck, Daniel Jones. And these are just the notable ones. Maybe a Gardner Minshew as well. So when you look at that group, of course, Kyler Murray is by far the best QB in that class. So, of course, he's going to go 1 overall. But if Kyler Murray was coming out of in a class that had even the hype of a Zach Wilson or even a Trey Lance, we don't even know where Kyler Murray would go based off of his size. And then you've had other, QB classes that had Baker Mayfield and what was it? Was Josh Allen in that same class? I have to look up that whole Baker Mayfield class. But I do know that Josh Rosen was in that class. So, it's one of those things where you see these QBs come in with all this hype. It does not guarantee that these guys are going to be good or bad. Got to be right system, got to be right coaching, got to have the talent around them. One thing I can say that I appreciate about QBs such as Herbert, right, or even Tua, you've surrounded those guys with talent. They have no excuse. So when you have a Tyreek Hill, you have a Jalen Waddle, you know what I'm saying, and then now that you drafted a chain, you've put these guys in position, and then they've gotten offensive linemen as well. You look at a guy like Justin Herbert. He came into a team that had Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. A lot of these young QBs can't say that. But Sam Howell, you can say, okay, he's coming into a situation where he has Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. That's a good situation to be in. Dak Prescott came into a situation when Dak Prescott was good his rookie season. He became a greater QB when they added a Amari Cooper. So when you get these guys legit number one wide receivers, guys that can get open, it just kind of helps the process for these young guys. Uptown Dre says, yikes, that QB class has no class, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man. Everybody's always excited to get that next guy, to get that next, this and that. So the Baker Mayfield class, if I can find it, somebody's saying it was the 2018 draft. Let's look it up. 2018 NFL draft. That class. Let me see, because I can't remember. After a certain while, I can't remember. So Baker Mayfield was the first QB to go in that draft class, and then it was Sam Darnold at pick 3, Josh Allen at pick 7, Josh Rosen at pick 10, and I believe it was a few other QBs that went in that draft. If I can just get it in order, let me go to QBs. Give me a second. Yeah, so Baker Mayfield went at pick 1. Then you had Sam Darnold. Then you had Josh Allen at 7. Rosen at 10. Lamar Jackson at 32. That was pretty good. All these teams passed up on Lamar Jackson. Then you had Mason Rudolph at 76. You had Kyle Luletta at 108. You had Mike White at 171, and he's been a solid backup QB. He's flashed a little bit, so that's why he's still around, right? You had Luke Falk at 199. You had Tanner Lee, don't even know who that guy is, at 203. You had Danny Etlin at 219. You had Alex McGall at 220. Then you had Logan Whiteside at 249. So out of this whole class, like, the guys were Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. They went 7 and 32, but then you have a guy like the hype that was around Baker Mayfield, the hype that was around Sam Darnold. It's so easy to hit or miss on QBs, is all I'm saying. So you're going to have these teams right now that are going to be going after Caleb Williams, and I hope Caleb Williams hits. I'm a big fan of Caleb Williams. I hope he tears it up. But it all goes back to Jared Goff being a solid QB. Man, I went on a tangent there, but it's much needed. So I don't know what you guys' prediction is for this game. I'm just glad that football is back. I'm gonna look up some stuff, see what's going on with Kansas City, see what's going on with the Lions, see if there's any surprises. Let's go ahead and share our screen. Let's go ahead and share our screen before we go ahead and end this stream. Wait, man, football is back, man. Fantasy is back. I'll be possibly coming back on maybe Thursday evening to do a start and sit show for those who enjoy fantasy football and don't really know who to start. I can kind of like help you guys with trade advice and things of that nature. I figured out when I usually do those shows, it's like usually packed. Somebody has, obviously a Lions fan, somebody has a Lions winning 11 games this year. I'm not saying that it can't happen. They did win 9 games last year. So yes, it's definitely possible. Chiefs, man, the Chiefs just continue to just dominate, man. These guys are really, really good at football. It's going to be interesting, though, because when you look at the Chiefs, like I said earlier, a lot has changed, right? They trust Pacheco. You figured that the Chiefs would have drafted somebody in the draft to take over that backfield, but they're going to trust Pacheco. Let me see what Uptown Dre says. Uptown Dre says, Josh Allen, Lamar, White, Baker. Really 2 guys. Yeah, man. Yeah, with any QB class, it's just tough, man. Like, if I'm a GM, I'll probably get fired so many times or probably get fired one time and never be allowed to come back into the league. But yeah, man, this matchup, man, I think the Chiefs win. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, maybe something like a 35-31, something like that. Let's see what they're saying. So, yeah, Kadarius Toney. He has a chance to be their number 1 wide receiver. Sky Moore has a chance to be their number 1 wide receiver. Marquez Scotland. Valdez Scotland. I always get his name wrong because he has so many names. And anybody who knows me in fantasy knows that I cannot stand Marquez at all. When he was with Green Bay, he used to drop a lot of passes. But yeah, Kadarius Toney, he's the wild card, right? He's a guy that they can target heavily, especially if there's no Travis Kelce. So here is what Andy Reid said 2 days ago. He says he told reporters that Kadarius Toney, who missed much of camp with a lingering knee injury, is good to go for week 1. When you say he's good to go, how healthy is he? Is it one of those things where he gets hit one time and then he's out? Like, or like, what kind of role does Kadarius Toney have because of this injury that he's had all through camp? Are they going to limit his touches? If I'm a betting man and I had to guess who would lead the Chiefs in receiving yards and possibly receptions, I'm going to say Rashee Rice. I like Rashee Rice. But then again, you have a Rashee Rice, you have a Justin Ross, and these are 2 guys that they're going to bring off the bench, they say. So you're going to bring out, 3 smaller wide receivers in Kadarius Toney, guys like Sky Moore. These are smallish guys. James, those might be their 3 starting wide receivers. But if I had to make a wild guess, I'm going to say Rashee Rice leads the Chiefs with receptions and yards in this game. Could be totally wrong. Maybe you see 2 tight end sets. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what the game plan is going to be if there's no Travis Kelce. FanDuel question. The Lions will defeat the Chiefs on Thursday night. I'm not saying that they can't, but I'm not betting against the Kansas City Chiefs. Fresh off of winning, fresh off of just dominating last year, right? So here's an interesting stat right here. Patrick Mahomes versus NFC East or NFC teams. 20 games, he's 18-2. That's a winning percentage of 90%. 65% completion percentage. He's averaging almost 310 yards per game. 104 QBR. Then you have 51 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And you guys are telling me that the Lions have a chance to win this game? I don't know. Detroit will score with KC, but will they stop anyone on defense? That's the question. You bring up a great point because, like I said, the Lions do have a much improved team, much improved offense at that. But defensively, they are adding pieces. There are pieces, but I don't know. I don't know what happens. Man, why does Charlie Batch look like Mookie Betts? Charlie Batch looks like Mookie Betts. This is funny. But yeah. Mahomes he's a bad dude. And if you have him in fantasy, start him with confidence. I mean, of course, obviously you started Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to go crazy. And do not be surprised if you see a 4 to 5 touchdown game out of Patrick Mahomes. Like we've seen that. We've seen that happen before. We've seen him go, 4 touchdowns to Travis Kelce. So yeah, it's nothing that Mahomes hasn't done. And I think he comes out guns blazing, has a great game, and solidifies himself as the early favorite for NFL MVP. So I can definitely see that happen. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Football is back. I am excited. Kansas City Lions Thursday night. I'm predicting that the Chiefs win 35 to 31. My other prediction is that Rashee Rice leads the team in receptions, yards. Mind you, he's not starting. So this is just a bold prediction out of me. Let me know your bold predictions for those of you guys that are going to be watching the replay. Definitely let me know in the comment section. And please like, please subscribe, and please share. And I'm going to catch you guys on that next episode. I'm out. Peace.